Okay, we're good to go.
Perfect. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order at 6:31. And we will go ahead and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. And if I could ask Dr. Fussell, if you could lead us, please. Wait, I think you are on, your mic is muted.
How's that?
There you go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dr. Fussell. And we'll go ahead and take the roll, please.
For Camarillo Airport Authority, Supervisor Long.
Yes.
Thank you. Supervisor Ramirez.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Mayor Moshe.
Present.
Vice Mayor Santangelo.
Here.
Public Member Scott Bear.
Here.
And for the record, alternate Public Member Randall Sonata is also with us this evening. Shall I do the Oxnard Airport Authority roll call?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Supervisor Long.
Yes.
Supervisor Ramirez.
Yes.
Councilmember Peralta will be joining us shortly. Councilmember Lopez.
Here.
Yes,
Public Member Eugene Fussell.
here.
Okay, both airport authorities have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Next item is the agenda review. If there are any comments or feedback, any changes on the agenda?
Nothing from staff, Chair.
Thank you. All right, item number 4, the approval of the minutes. So we'll start with the Oxnard minutes. If there's anyone from the authority who has any comments, changes, edits, if not, I will welcome a motion.
I motion to approve.
Second motion.
Thank you. And can we take the roll, please?
Supervisor Long,
Yes.
Supervisor Ramirez,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez,
Yes.
Eugene Fussell.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And I'll hand it over to Chair Santangelo for the Camarillo.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve Camarillo?
Supervisor Ramirez,
Yes.
I move that we approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Yes.
Okay, I think there's a motion from Scott and a second from Sean. Let's have a vote.
Supervisor Long,
Yes.
Supervisor Ramirez,
Yes.
Mayor Moshe,
Yes.
Chair Santangelo,
Yes.
Scott Bear.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. For public comment, will you read us the statement, Anna?
Yes, absolutely. If you would like to be added to the public comment queue, please be connected via Zoom. If not already connected and wish to make a public comment, you can find the Zoom link on the last page of the meeting agenda, which can be found at vcairports.org/meeting-calendar. If you wish to make a public comment on agenda item number 5, please press the raise hand button now, or if you're calling in today, press star then 9 to be added to the speaker list. Chair Lopez, we do have 3 written comments that were received.
Thank you. If you can go ahead and read those, and I just want to make note that Councilmember Perello has joined the meeting.
Okay. The first public comment is from Art Munson. It reads, I have been living in Seabridge since 2012 and was aware of the airport close to us. What I wasn't prepared for were the constant touch and go flights over our neighborhood. Early on, I was involved in trying to get a resolution to this situation without any luck. It is my understanding that flights are to stay north of Woolley, which is seldom the case. It also appears that many of these flights do not honor any altitude requirement, as some fly extremely low over our home. To that end, I have recently learned we have so many touch and goes because Oxnard Airport does not charge for this activity. I understand Santa Monica charges a landing fee of $5.48 per 1,000 pounds landing gross weight. I also understand Supervisor Ramirez asked at a prior meeting to consider charging landing fees. If Oxnard Airport charged the same fee as Santa Monica, planes that come here several times a week could be looking at landing fees of $9,000 or more a year. This would reduce touch and goes at Oxnard Airport and would help offset the operating loss for this fiscal year. Thank you for your consideration, Bart Munson. The next comment is from Susan Blau. It reads, Commissioners, the tower and airport hierarchy make no attempt to keep flights east of the estuary and north of Woolley, or encourage turning right despite 16 months of repeated requests. Following our stats for 2 of the last 5 days. These planes fly full throttle over Oxnard shores and marina, most lower than 800 feet. Many planes are old and loud, some tracking at 92 to 95 dB. Sunday 3622, for a period of 5.5 hours, we tracked 17 aircraft arrivals with tail numbers and 9 with blocked tail numbers, totaling 26. The average number of TNGs was 6 per plane, with some doing as many as 11. This equates to 156 rounds overhead, or 1 pass every 2.2 minutes for 5.5 hours. There were 5+ planes overhead at once on 3 occasions. There were 13 flight schools in from Edwards AFG, Santa Paula, Santa Monica, Van Nuys. Biggest offenders, Anacapa N740GT and Libra Air N44566. Wednesday 3922. For a 4.5-hour period, we tracked 19 aircraft arrivals with tail numbers plus 2 with block tail numbers, totaling 21. The average number of TNGs was 7 per plane, with some doing as many as 13. This equates to 147 rounds overhead, or 1 pass every 2 minutes for 4.5 hours. There were 4+ planes overhead at once on 4 occasions from 10 flight schools in from Van Nuys, Santa Monica, Santa Paula, Whiteman. Biggest offenders, Textron N916NT and CP Aviation N747PP. We see no improvement. This assault must stop. Thank you, Susan Blau, Oxnard Shores resident. And the last comment we received is from Mr. Ben D. Benedetto. It reads, Commissioners, the touch and go flights at the Oxnard Airport continue to torture Oxnard Shores. It has been over a year since the Oxnard Shores Neighborhood Council began reporting monthly spreadsheets with the time, date, tail number, and video clips of the flight pattern of the offending noise abatement pilots. These flights number from 250 to 300 touch and go sessions, not revolutions, averaging 8 to 12 revolutions per aircraft. This translates to a flight every 2 to 3 minutes over Oxnard Shores for 5 to 8 hours a day, several days of the week. The optional extended flight takeoff plan implemented by Mr. Nafee does not curb overflights on Oxnard Shores. In fact, it doubles them. They fly over Oxnard Shores on the way out, veering from Takeoff, ending up south of 5th Street, and again flying back to the airport. As a result, we have low-flying, loud aircraft causing near constant noise over our homes. The flight schools ignore the noise abatement plan, as does the tower. Rarely do flights turn right, which the tower could instruct them to do when it is safe to do so. There are more flight schools from out of the area, as well as a number of repeat offenders from our area, including CP Aviation, Air Discovery, and Air Shares. It's as if the airport exists for the flight schools at taxpayers' expense. Time to charge a fee for the touch and go flyers. Thank you, Ben D. Benedetto. And that concludes the written comments that were received.
Thank you so much, and thank you for those comments that were submitted. So we have one speaker at this time, Jean, if you want to go ahead.
I'm Walter Hagedorn, Chair of the Oxnard Shores Neighborhood Council. Over the last 16 months, the Neighborhood Council has tried to engage the airport management to address the safety, noise, and pollution problems caused by touch and go flights from Oxnard Airport. On a Saturday morning last July, I was talking with neighbors in my backyard when a training flight came over my house. I began to video the planes. There were 19 in 45 minutes, around one every 2 minutes. I presented the video to Mr. Nafi and remember telling him that this situation needed to change. Last week, we recorded 2 days in which aircraft doing touch and go operations over houses continuously at a rate of one every 2 minutes for 4 to 6 hours at a time. Nothing has changed, and we have run out of patience. It is obvious to us the airport management, the airport advisory board, and the authority have no interest in changing the status quo. But there's a problem. The county and the city seem to want development around the airport. For example, North Shores, Teal Club, and Portofino. And yet they want to ignore the noise, safety, and pollution problems these overflights will cause. Noise and safety are a major problem. But the issue of lead pollution over schools, playgrounds, and homes is a disaster, which needs to be studied in the EIRs for these developments. While the city and the county continue to subsidize these operations from flight schools and individuals from out of the area, the airport continuously loses money every year and provides no benefit to the residents or the city. This is a case of a very small tail wagging a very large dog. It is time for the authority to tackle these problems for the good of the residents who are fed up with the lack of progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hagedorn. Okay, so I think that the next speaker was Jean, correct? Or I'm sorry, Supervisor Ramirez?
I just want a point of clarification. One of the speakers said that I'd asked that we charge and at Oxnard Airport landing fees. I asked for a study about it. I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that that point.
Chair, we do have Gene with his hand raised.
Yes, Jean can go ahead.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. My name is good evening. My name is Gene Barlow. I'm on the Cohota Board of Directors, and I'm also a member of the Legal Steering Committee that has been negotiating the terms of the new lease. I just wanted to say that a milestone has been reached. The Legal Steering Committee and County Council have come to agreement on language that we can both live with. We have provided copies of it to our board of directors for review, and at a specially called directors meeting this weekend, we will be unanimously recommending that it be approved. It's taken a long time to get here, and much effort has been invested. And all concerned are pleased that it looks like we're about to wrap things up. I wish to sincerely thank Director Freitas for his openness and spirit of cooperation. Working with him has been truly like a breath of fresh air. Our airports are more than just a place to house aircraft. They are vibrant communities of folks with a common love of aviation. Every time I come through the gate, I get a feeling of joy and appreciation for the privilege. This lease thing has been heavy on everybody's mind, and it looks like we're close to putting it behind us and focusing on what we love best. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak, and best wishes.
Thank you. Supervisor Long?
Yes, I just want to appreciate Jean's comments. I can't let that slide without saying, wow, I'm really excited to hear this news, and that was very important for our authority to hear, and wanted to say thank you. We've been working on it since 2017 or even earlier since then. So to hear something like that is just really great news. And I would agree that Keith Friedis has been a breath of fresh air here at the airport, a wonderful hire. And so great. I can't wait to continue working with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Long. Absolutely. I think we can all agree as we've seen this process in the last year. So thank you to staff who's been working through this issue. So, and with no further public comment, we will move on to the next item. Item 6, the review and recommendations regarding the monthly noise report format. So is there a staff presentation, Mr. Nafee?
Yes, Chair, there is. And I will do my best to juggle this. Okay, yeah, we wanted to provide a review to receive and file and provide an update of the revised form hangar lease agreement for privately owned hangars. But sorry, I'm back out of order again. So we are going to review and make a recommendation regarding the monthly noise report format. So what staff wanted to do was to respond to comments that we had received, that additional information would be useful and helpful for a monthly report. And so staff pulled together a number of representative or potential reports that could be comparable to what other advisory boards receive on a monthly basis or a periodic basis. And so what we had thought was that we would put these in the board packets, allow you to kind of review them, get a feel for what kind of information is out there, the kinds of things that might be helpful in understanding from an advisory standpoint to help you to fulfill the role that you have as an advisory board member. And then rather than try to hash that out from the dais or from where you sit, that we would recommend or suggest that a subcommittee be formed. And we brought that recommendation to the Aviation Advisory Commission this past Monday, the 7th. And reviewed with them the fact that they could have a subcommittee, they could participate in a subcommittee with up to 4 members, and with the idea that probably more than that would begin to run into issues with quorum. So staff was suggesting that perhaps we received some volunteers to be nominated from your advisory bodies to join with the advisory commission and work with staff and maybe some outside expertise as well to identify what we would like to have in our monthly reports, and then move that direction. So I think the suggestion would be to say, if you would like to have staff go over any of these included reports and discuss features, or if you'd like to discuss amongst the members of your boards what features that you see that you like, or discuss, and then perhaps identify a couple of folks who would join a subcommittee to work on these reports. So that's the staff presentation, and I'm happy to facilitate any review of the reports that you would like, or sit back and listen to how the discussion unfolds.
All right, Chair Santangelo.
Thank you. Can you go over the composition of this committee again for me? The number of people and number from the advisory and from the authority?
Sure. What the advisory commission, since it's larger, has the airport advisory commission has the ability to put 4 up through its bylaws. They said that they can form a committee, a subcommittee, and staff was kind of kicking it around today, trying to think about how the composition would be amongst the authority members, since you meet jointly and there's some overlap. I think it would be easy. It would be something that could work, I would say, if we had a supervisor, a city council person, and a public member, as long as they didn't all align from the same authority. And that could work. There may be other qualifying ways to do that, but that would make it clean enough, I would say, or some other composition that didn't amount to a quorum. But that said, if it winds up being something that is subject to the Brown Act, and we have to notice the meetings and we take notes and staff supports that, then so be it. That's we're prepared to do that. There's nothing inappropriate or difficult about that. It's just we're trying to figure out a way for us to kind of knock our heads together without having to do it kind of live on TV.
Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Long?
Yes, I think I appreciate staff's suggestion in the subcommittee. I think that's the right way to handle it so that they can come back and present something to us to review. I would like to make sure that there are experienced pilots on this committee to really make sure it's well-rounded. So the next question I would have, if this is the suggestion, is who would be the appointees and how would that process go?
Well, from staff's standpoint, I think it would be a matter of the members, I guess, identifying at least some volunteers and then seeing if that if the math worked. But I think it's at the discretion of the members to decide who would like to serve on that subcommittee, and then we'll make it work.
Okay, because I do know, I'm sure Bill Thomas would want to be on there with his experience, or maybe some others. And then also we have to watch out for a quorum, those that are in the authority. I think there's only going to be 1 or 2 of the authority members that can be on there. And maybe we could submit it to the staff and then bring them to our next meeting so that we could approve those that are going to be on this authority. I'm just throwing out some ideas because I haven't talked to staff beforehand in regard to what the structure would be. And I'm sure there's a lot of hands I'm seeing, so I think some other authority members might have some suggestions or questions as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Molche?
Kelly kind of said a bit of it. I just wanted to make sure we don't have any more than 2 members from either of our respective authorities, because otherwise we'd obviously run into a Brown Act violation. And aside from that, I'll wait till the time is appropriate. But I did want to rattle off a few of my suggestions of things that I would like to see. I don't mean to get into a conversation, but maybe we can each take a quick little turn if there's 1 or 2 things that we think is important, and that can be as a launching pad to then take to the committee with all those respective committee members.
Thank you. Would that be, just to clarify on that, would that be appropriate to make the recommendation for a subcommittee and provide some initial feedback?
Yeah, I'd be interested in doing that.
Okay, thank you. All right, Dr. Fussell.
I'm interested in composition of, you have 4 people from the commission. I was wondering about the number of public people. There was at least 3 people tonight were complaining, and there's a lot of folk out there, and I think some of those people should be on this committee to voice their opinions. And I agree that the authorities probably should not have too many people, but at least one of the people from the authorities should be a pilot who familiar with the area.
Thank you, Dr. Fussell. Okay, so trying to take note of that, the different feedback on there. So Mr. Nafee, if you could just clarify, are we talking about possibly also including people outside of those appointed to the advisory or the airport authority?
Yeah, I think it would be at the discretion. Staff certainly would be happy to facilitate. And if it's the board's desire to bring in folks from outside, that's fine. Just reminding everybody that these are reports that you would receive on a monthly basis in the board packets, and it would just be not. I mean, it would. Yeah, I mean, it would just be whatever you found to be useful. And you know, back to the purpose of it is to say that we had heard some comments that not everything was. All the information in there was useful, and some information that might be useful was missing. And so we thought, rather than us trying to imagine what might be useful, that we let the members decide. So if you'd like to bring in lots of different voices, that's fine. But this really is just it's a way for you to take a quick pulse of the activity at the airport in ways that you find to be meaningful, and giving you some examples from outside airports. So.
Thank you. Okay, and so you know what we're looking is the format of the reports, and what concerns we're hearing from the community is at a different scale of an approach to fixing or addressing those issues. So I think that's something for us to keep in mind. Councilmember Perello.
Thank you, Councilmember. Thank you, Chair. My concern is that there is a pilot involved. I think Mr. Fussel's right on the button. I just have a question. When they was given some information, is there going to be a problem if a council member lives in the same district as a supervisor if they are both on the board? With the redistricting stuff, I live in a different supervisor, but I represent the city of Oxnard, but I believe now I live in Supervisor Long's district. I just want to make a clarification so we don't, somebody ask that question later on. Thank you.
Welcome to the district, Bert.
Yep.
All right, Mr. Bear.
I wanted to echo a couple things that Dr. Fussell said, and also Mr. Nafee. We're talking about creating a report format, not solving the actual noise problem. So I question whether we need a huge subcommittee, or rather maybe one representative from each authority, one representative from the advisory commission, and maybe a member of the public, and then maybe a fifth member of some sort to break any stalemates, rather than a large unwieldy subcommittee that is really just talking about paperwork. I mean, let's strip it down to its bare essence. It's a paperwork issue. I do think that, and agreeing with Dr. Fussell, that pilots need to be on this in addition to homeowners and non-pilots. But in terms of the scope of it, I think it should be kept relatively small, given that it's a subcommittee.
Thank you.
Would the chair like to hear the members that nominated themselves from the advisory commission? That we could.
Yes, can we allow Chair Santangelo? I think she has some comments before we go ahead and hear some of those names.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm gonna throw the monkey wrench. I sort of tend to agree. I feel like this is. So I looked through all of the reports that were provided, and I looked at ours. I don't see this being a huge amount of work, and I'm worried that we're going to get caught up in another month of waiting for approving who's on this committee, and then another month to get them together, and then I'm looking at is there another more efficient way to do this without limiting who's involved and so that we get the most input? But I agree with what Mr. Bear said, is this isn't really a committee, at least from my understanding, that's about solving these problems. It's about a report. So, and I don't want it to sound like I want to limit who's involved in doing this. But I don't see, unless I'm missing something, I'm not seeing too much more. I don't know if it warrants this much. Am I making sense?
No.
My comment.
Thank you, Chair Santangelo. And Mr. Sanada.
I'm wondering if it might be a better idea to get a recommendation from staff to start with, so as to ease the process.
Thank you. And so, Mr. Nafee, you said that you did have a list of some volunteers for this subcommittee. So perhaps we can hear those, and if we can move forward today with those names rather than waiting another month, as Chair Santangelo said, I think it would be more efficient to get something, move something forward today.
Absolutely. The 4 members of the Aviation Advisory Commission who volunteered themselves to be on the to be on the subcommittee: Nanette Metz, Bob Trimborn, Adriana Vandergraaf, and Steve Tannehill. Steve Tannehill is a public member who lives in the neighborhoods that are affected.
That's good.
And Bob Trimborn is a very experienced airport manager and pilot, and engaged in the air show. And Adriana and Nanette have both long tenures with the commission as well. So there's a lot of experience there, a lot of aviation experience, and some neighborhood representation as well.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm not sure if Mr. Perello, did you have any additional comments or did your...
I apologize, I forgot to put my hand down, sorry.
No problem. All right, Mr. Sanada?
Same here. I forgot to take my hand down.
All right, no problem. So given this information, it seems like we have some names that could move forward, and falling into some of the categories that have been raised with having a diverse representation, including a public member. So given that, is there any interest from anyone in the authority, either Camarillo or Oxnard or both, that would be interested? Mr. Bear?
I'm interested.
Okay. And Mayor Molshe?
I'm interested in Mr. Bear.
Okay.
Be careful
Dr.
what you wish
Fussell?
for, Sean.
Dr. Fussell?
I'm interested from Oxnard.
And I would like to put Bill Thomas as a community member on, if possible.
Okay, so based on that, it looks like there's, did I count seven names?
It would be a total of 7 with those 3 from the authority. Yes. Well,
Okay,
Bill's outside, but yeah.
got it. Okay, Dr. Fussell?
In line with not having such an unwieldy committee when they finish, maybe the staff could look at all these people who are interested and kind of weed it down to a manageable committee that they can work with, and people don't feel bad if they don't get selected.
It should really be 5. To me anyway, that is each authority, the advisory commission, a public member, and a 5th person who can break any ties. And that, dealing with, again, a paperwork issue, I think that's more than ample.
Councilmember Perello?
We're not voting right now, correct?
Mr. Nafee, do you need a vote, or given the feedback, would you be able to move forward with this, or should we narrow this down a little bit further?
Well, what the vision was that a name or two or three or however many would arise from this conversation, and then we'd move forward and form that subcommittee. And but it's up to the members to decide how to move this forward. You will receive and file the presentation and the discussion, and we can go from there. If I hear three names that could join, and when staff could certainly work outside of this format, outside of this meeting to finalize the formation of it.
Chair,
Go ahead, Mr. Perrello.
I'd just like to say, for as long as I've been on this board, Mr. Thomas had been involved and he asked good questions. And he's a pilot and I'm not. But the same goes for Mr. Fussell. As an alternate, he showed up at the meetings and he asked good questions. And he schooled me when I would ask a question not knowing. And he prevented me from making a bigger fool of myself than I do on my own by giving me a little information about how things work once you're up in the air. I would really support, as far as from the Oxnard, Mr. Fussell being on this board. I can't speak for the Camarillo thing, but I think Supervisor Long is right. Thomas brings a lot to the table. No disrespect to the other people at all. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perrello. Okay, well, I think so. As I see, given we have at least two members from the authority, both representing each Camarillo and Oxnard, we have a voice on this end. So unless there's any other comments or a different direction that the rest of the authority wants to move forward with, I would say we can leave it in staff's hands at this point. And I'll give you a second in case there's any additional comments or feedback. Mayor Molshe.
I have a little bit of feedback as to.
Oh, yes, thank you. My apologies.
For us that won't be on it, maybe we can just impart our respective feedback.
Thank you.
You want me to just lead off?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll be very brief. I looked at all the reports that staff presented us from other airports. I still genuinely like ours more than any of those. But what I think there are some things that are missing. I'm most interested in, when it comes to data, it needs to be actionable data, not just data for the sake of collecting it, but it's got to serve some sort of purpose or use. It's something that we should be able to leverage, to take action on, and it should be able to inform us of the issues and or the trends and what might be driving these issues. On ours, I like ours. I like the fact that we have maps and it says where in our respective cities or jurisdictions their complaints are coming from. I think the image of the maps can be improved. It's hard to read those. One had, and this is just simple math, but complaints per 1,000 operations. As operations increase or decrease, it'd be interesting to see how complaints might trend. The type of aircraft that's being complained about, and I say that because, say most of the complaints in Oxnard that we're getting from Oxnard are touch and goes. Those are, I think, smaller aircraft, whereas the ones in Camarillo, it might be more of a mixed bag. But I'm going to presume, I'll presume that it is a mixed bag. But I know there's probably some larger aircraft as well. But I don't know, because I don't know what kind of aircraft people are complaining about. But I think that would be very interesting. From that, we might be able to derive some trends as to what type of aircraft might be causing the most complaints, and maybe there's some sort of action we can take. I'm genuinely interested in time of complaints, when complaints are being filed, whether these are early in the morning, late at night, sometime in the afternoon. And from Camarillo's side, I just want to be respectful of, because we have we've gotten complaints in the past where I've heard of complaints in the community about after hours operations. It'd be nice to know if there are in fact any operations outside of the normal operating hours of the airport. I know that airplanes can technically land, but it'd be nice to know if there are any operations falling outside. I think it's between 12 and 5. And that's it from my end.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or feedback from authority members? Chair Santangelo, go ahead.
Me again. I want to second that the time of the complaints is a really important piece to capture. I just wanted to say that. Thanks.
You already said it.
Thank you, Chair Santangelo. And going off of those comments, the lead off from Mayor Molshe, one of the issues that it is my understanding, at least from discussions with Mr. Fridas, has been even with the information that is collected when someone does call with the complaint. So I imagine that starting off from that point of how this information is documented can help improve the reports. And I definitely agreed with the comments about the format that it seems to work, especially as comparing them to some of the other reports from other areas. But certainly there's always some room for improvement. And as in the staff report, it was mentioned to part of the process in addressing the concerns from the neighbors and the direction that the airport authority will be moving in would be to have a designated staff who can work with the community through this process. And I think that will make a significant difference in having a point of contact as concerns come through. Okay, so with that, I don't see that there's any public comments, but Mr. Bear, I see your hand went up.
I noticed that Mr. Nafee changed the screen, and the first item that's now on our screen is finalizing agreement with Vector Airport Systems administers landing fee. And I'm wondering what that agreement is and whether we've made agreements for landing fees, or is this just a study? I'd like to hear from staff as to what that means.
Sure. Thank you. It's a bit ambiguous. My apologies. Vector Airport Systems administers our current landing fee. We charge a landing fee to aircraft over 12,500 pounds. And Vector Airport Systems uses technology to capture information about aircraft. And for those that weigh larger than 12.5, they get a bill, and it's sent to the address of the owner of the airplane. The reason that we mention that is that our new we're entering into an agreement with them to provide us a new tool for administering a noise program, and it provides us a public portal, gives us a lot of interactive tools and visualizations of when, how, where aircraft activity occurs. People can log in and they can make noise comments, as they're called, about any of the aircraft activity that occurs. A lot more information than is publicly available through other kind of public tools like FlightAware. Gives staff more tools on the back end in addition to what the public can get. Both airports are going to have separate programs so that you'd be able to see who's arriving versus departing at the various airports. And then that's going to be in development over the summer, and we're hoping to implement that in early fall. So that'll be a wonderful tool for everybody to get a better look at the activity around both airports. I wanted to mention that we have received approval to hire a new staff position. It's going to be focused completely on community relations and noise and public outreach. And that we are also we have a scheduled meeting with the Oxnard neighborhoods on March 18th. So that was the balance of the receive and file bit of the noise presentation. So
Sounds like a worthwhile program.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's really headed in the right direction.
we're excited about it. And if I might, I'll just back up one and say that Truckee Airport has that system, has that program, and this is a report that they can very quickly generate from that. Hard to read there, but it is a data-rich kind of setup, and you can create all kinds of filters, and so yeah, there you go.
Great, thank you. Supervisor Ramirez?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for Mr. Nalfi. If you could say, again, this looks like we're going in the right direction to get information we need to make decisions or make policy. But I'm just wondering if you could say whether or not we know of planes that do touch and goes at Oxnard, then go to Camarillo, then go to Santa Paula. Is there any information about that available? See, Mr. King thinks that's funny.
I didn't realize I was on
on
audio. Sorry.
Anybody have an answer to that? I'm just curious to see if they just sort of fly to different places or just continue to do the touch and goes at one single airport.
Supervisor Ramirez, the answer to that is that it's possible to identify the origin and destination of most airplanes, and given time with tools like this, we could begin to see some trends emerge. How that drives policy is a little bit tricky because we're not allowed to regulate flight. So
I understand.
So that's, but we can note trends, and we can communicate with pilots and flight schools and such, and note what those trends are, and see if we can kind of nudge things in a different direction.
Thank you. And just to follow up on noise complaints, I really haven't heard anything about Santa Paula residents complaining about Santa Paula Airport functions or noise. It's a little bit of often a tangent. I just think it would be interesting to know what the situation is there. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Ramirez. Mr. Sanada?
Yes, I was just wondering, as we look at the vector airport systems, have we, I'm sure most of us are aware that there is a program called FlightAware that tells us where airplanes are coming from, where they're scheduled to land, where they've been for a number of months in the past. Is there any tie-in with FlightAware? Are we using it in any way right now for Camarillo and Oxnard?
Chair, I could take that. The FlightAware is it's filtered information that's made publicly available. It uses sensors that are on board most complying aircraft that are going to be flying in complicated airspace. It's called ADS-B. Those devices are broadcasting information about the altitude and speed and whatnot of the position of an airplane. Right. And that can be compiled and distributed by public-facing companies like FlightAware. Vector would be more robust than that, but building on the same technology.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Perello?
Thank you, Chair. I just have one question. It was mentioned that the individuals are going to be meeting with the Oxnard neighborhoods, and I believe the date was the 18th. When and where and which neighborhoods? How is that being arranged?
Councilmember Perello, thank you. My understanding is that that's going to be a virtual meeting.
Okay.
With a couple of folks.
Just a couple of folks, or because it was mentioned neighborhoods, and I represent the area. I want to make sure that people that want to are aware of it, because I don't want to be getting the flack when they didn't get told. How do I share this information, or you'll do it shortly.
Let me circle back with you on the side because I don't want to get ahead of the director there.
Gotcha. Okay, got it.
There are two people who we have kind of struck up a conversation with, who like to hear and have access to the director directly.
I will share this with you, and I'm being extremely blunt. Some issues that arise in the neighborhoods that I represent, the individuals in the neighborhoods have taken some real heat because it hasn't been shared. And I want to make sure that if there's information going out, that it gets shared. That's all. I'm not trying to torpedo anything. Just the flack that comes later on. There's a lot of innocent casualties. I don't know if you want to.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Long?
Thank you. Just to clarify for Councilmember Perillo, what I'm reading is that they'll have a neighborhood representative at the meeting. It's not a town hall meeting. I think that's different of inviting the whole neighborhood to come to the meeting. Is that correct? The first round is to less members, so the community representative for that area? Or is that for anyone who would like to come?
Supervisor Long, I don't want to overstate this. If there are a couple of people who represent the neighborhood associations who have asked for a fairly regular conversation with us. The next one is scheduled on the 18th.
Perfect.
We can plan something of a larger scale arising from that.
Thank you. And I just thought that would be good to clarify.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I make a comment, please?
Yes, go ahead.
I just would like to remind the people that the neighborhoods that have been very active, Channel Islands neighborhood, Oxnard Shores neighborhood, Via Marina neighborhood, Oxnard Dunes neighborhood, then we get into Sea Air and Seaview neighborhood. I've already hit 6 neighborhoods right there. And they are asking me, why don't they know about these meetings? That's the only reason. If there will be one individual identified to make sure that those neighborhoods here, I just like to have those individuals know that they give that individual a call. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Perillo. So, Mr. Nafee, perhaps I know Mr. Freitas is out today, but perhaps Mr. Perillo can follow up with him on the side and just to double check any neighborhood councils, because I think what you're talking about is neighborhood council representatives who can possibly join these meetings, a representative rather than making it a public community meeting. Supervisor Long, did you have a follow, and then Dr. Fussell, my apologies.
Yes, no, I wasn't finished, but I knew that we needed to get the information from Councilmember Perillo. I thought that's what he was trying to say, and I wanted to make sure we were clear so that when we left today, that would be good. The second thing is when we're doing this noise program study update, I would like to know when they're doing multiple touchdowns. My understanding is that they would do a couple in the Oxnard airport and then they would go to the Camarillo airport. Not that they're just doing loops and loops and loops over one. So I would like to get that in a study as well, so that we can understand what is the flight patterns. Because we are getting some noise reports, and so that would be helpful, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Fussell?
I'd like to get some clarification. We've talked about what I consider two generally different things. We were, I thought, going to get a group together to figure out what would be an appropriate report of things that we would look at. The mayor mentioned that our report looked better than a lot of other reports, and I agree with him. And of course, we could enhance that. And I thought what we would be doing would have the folk get together with staff and decide the parameters that we were going to look at. And then we start meeting with folk from the public. But so I'm confused. Are we going to do both things at once? In tandem, where are we going from here?
Mr. Napi, do you want, yeah, go ahead and clarify. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, this is a lesson for me in slide design. So the meeting with neighborhood representatives, that was really just a quick update that says that staff is meeting, taking meetings, I guess, to listen to people about noise issues. And so that was a little different than announcing that there's a new staff position, and that was a little different than saying that we have a new noise program coming online, and that was a little bit different than saying we're happy to work with a subcommittee to revise reports. So there's a little bit of a shotgun scatter of information here. I didn't mean to make this look like it was all connected. It's connected by the fact that we're doing a lot of different things to address noise, and to that extent, the fact that we're working in multiple channels to listen to and address concerns of our neighborhoods relative to noise. So.
Thank you. Dr. Fussell, did you have any follow-up questions or?
Now, we're all over the board, so maybe we could talk about it offline.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of moving pieces, all connected to noise complaints. So yeah, I think any follow-up will be welcome as the time comes. So
There is one public call.
Yes, thank you. I was going to move on to that. So at this time, we'll go ahead and take some public comments. So the first one I see here is Mr. Hagnom. If you go ahead.
He's in the process of joining.
Ah, got it.
Hello, thank you, Walter Hagnom, Chair of the Oxnard Shores Neighborhood Council. And I just wanted to clarify, I know that the airport has been meeting with several of our committee members on an ongoing basis, which is very good. I have no problem with that, but no one has contacted me, and I'm the chair of the Oxnard Shores Neighborhood Council, about a meeting. But I'm okay with that because we do have communications. But there was people saying that the neighborhood councils were involved. Mine is not at this point. My point is this: we went through this. This has been going on for 16 months, and we really talked about noise abatement. And there was a new noise abatement website put up 6 or 8 months ago, if you remember. And there's a little graphic showing an airplane coming and turning before the Edison Canal and everything. And of course that never happens. No one follows the rules. And I've done a little research and found out that these planes can't make that tight turn. It would take a very experienced pilot to, I don't know if they could do what is shown on the website. And then there's other issues with new developments and things where we're sending the planes over the ocean and coming back, but they don't go all the way over the ocean. They happen to come right over a couple of people who are very active on our committee, right over their home almost every day. And then they go up Bully, maybe, and sometimes they drift right. But the problem is not the noise. The problem is no one's following the noise abatement protocol that was put in 8 months ago. So we can go through this process again, but if no one follows the rules, then there's going to be no change. We really need to find out, can these planes that are coming in from other places, these Cessna 172s, I've looked at some data, they cannot make those turns safely. And these are not experienced pilots, these are students. So we need to look at that. The noise we can handle. If everybody's following the rules, we live near an airport, we could handle it, but no one's following the rules. None of the people that we've talked about tonight coming over our houses should be coming over our houses at these elevations. They can't get to 700 feet before they get to the Edison Canal in many cases, and they can't make the turn because their turning radiuses aren't good enough. We need to look at that. Like I said, we had a noise abatement program 8 months ago, and it hasn't worked. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. I don't see any other comments, public comments, or hands raised for public comment. And I'll make a last call for any additional feedback or comments from authority members. Okay, All right, so we'll move on to the next item on the agenda is the update of the revised form hangar lease agreement, which we heard a comment earlier today, but Mr. Nafee, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. This item is another receive and file. This is an update of the revised form hangar lease agreement for privately owned hangars at Camarillo and Oxnard airports. And this would be a lease form that replaces the standard lease form that we have used in the past for month-to-month leases, and exchange those for 20-year term leases. And the only thing that I wanted to do is to just point out that Director Freitas has worked with members of CAHOTA and representatives, county council and their council to make some final revisions. We were pretty close a year ago, and now it seems we're aligned. And we hear from representatives from CAHOTA even today that they're going to take the form in its current form to the board and members on Saturday. And so if that is successful, then we would have a document to put into the agenda for next month, for April, which you would have the opportunity to review and get familiar with that document and then discuss it at the April meeting. And so these are some of the characteristics of it. And most of those things were resolved in the past, other than the last couple of items, which I've highlighted here, that a year ago we didn't have alignment on vehicle stickers for vehicles that were coming through the gate, and that paragraph has been dropped, and so there's no longer any proposal to have vehicle stickers for tenants coming through the gate. And then a mediation clause has been added, and that was a change from the form a year ago. And language is expected to be finalized, but even before this before this slide was prepared, since that point we have heard that the language is acceptable to the subcommittee or to the legal committee of CAHOTA, and they are bringing that to the board, like I said, on Saturday. So then looking ahead, CAHOTA membership meeting on March 19th, and assuming all of that goes well, then we'll bring this document to you for consideration to recommend to the board in April. So that's the entire presentation, and Director Freitas has been working closely with this item, and I'm presenting it to you. But the hard work was done by Keith, and staff really appreciates his ability to move this forward. We've heard comments similar to that from folks on the outside of staff, and so we're pretty excited about it. We're jumping up and down and high-fiving over the idea that we're pretty close to the end of this. So.
Great, thank you so much, and great job to everyone. And we can certainly share our appreciation with Director Freitas at the April meeting. So I see Supervisor Ramirez.
Just want to say really great to see the mediation clause coming in that everybody seems to be okay with. I'm just so pleased. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bear.
I want to echo the comments about Director Freitas. His efforts have been terrific, but on top of that, he's done it in a spirit of cooperation and collegiality that was sorely lacking in the previous administration. And his whole approach to this has been one of let's get it done and let's not butt heads. Let's figure out where we can compromise. And compromises have been reached. And there's the old cliche about a perfect deal is where everyone walks away slightly unhappy. And I think that that's probably the case here, that everybody didn't get exactly what they wanted, everybody can live with it. And I think in large part, Director Freitas and his staff are responsible for that, along with the good people at Cohoda, John and Mark and Gene and Dave and the rest of the group really brought this home, and everyone is to be commended. I wanted to just tee up something. Just as a reminder, in Section 8B of the rents and fees schedule, which deals with the leases, there was a waiver of the 2% transfer fee, but it expires on June 30th, 2022. And I'd like, hopefully, staff to work with whomever needs to be worked with on the rents and fee schedule to get that extended another 6 months. We had a delay when Director Turner left us, and nothing really got done for about 6 months. So I don't think it's unreasonable to extend that period 6 months in the upcoming rents and fees schedule.
Thank you, Mr. Bear. And I want to extend some appreciation to you as well as a former member of Cohoda and being part of the process before you came on to the authority. So thank you.
Thank you, Chair. It was a long and hard effort, but it was a worthy effort. And I appreciate your comments very, very much.
Thank you. Supervisor Long?
Yes, I really agree with the comments that have been made by the authority members, starting off with Todd McNamee, as in 2017 with Tom Temple, who is on today, in talking to the association and the other pilots and understanding what their needs are versus what the hangar lease was. And there's been a lot of really hard work from Jorge to, we had also just so many people. I'm getting all my list off confused. It's been a very long day. But we had Kip, we had Dave Naffy here, and now Keith, along with our city managers and city council working on this to make sure we're following all the rules and regulations and the JPAs, and then also all of our pilots. This is something that the authority has been kicking down the can since 1980s. And so this is monumental to be able to have us this close. And I just really want to say thank you to everyone. When I first got on and they're like, oh yeah, welcome to Authority, Kelly, and we're doing this. I was like, what in the world? Why would we start now after 2080? But it's a good for all. And I really want to appreciate the hard work of everyone on this. There's a lot of delay in this, but it was really to make sure we were doing thoughtful changes. And so I really appreciate the county council and all of everyone else. We're listening to each other. This is a good group project, I think, that we're getting a very great result. And so I just want to say thank you, and to all the authority members that were there before and that are there on now. We've had many council members on here and community people. And so I just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you, Supervisor Long. Chair Santangelo?
I'll keep this short. I'm just going to echo what everybody said. Even before I came to the council, I knew about the hangar lease issue that was outstanding. So this is something that Camarillo folks have known about, and I'm just really pleased and so grateful for people that stuck it out and worked hard to get this done. So thank you.
Councilmember Perillo.
I'd like to echo the thoughts that everyone said, and I want to thank one individual, David Timms, for helping me and explaining some things to me. I appreciate that. We've come a long way. I will remember one meeting in the Camarillo chambers. Supervisor Long and I were there, and it was a very lively meeting. Grateful we're here now. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And although it's not final yet, it's certainly we are very pleased to get this update and see this progress. So do we have any comments, public comments?
I'm not seeing any public comments. Attendees are all have their hands down. So.
All right, great. Well, with that, if there are no other comments or questions from authority members, we will move on to the next item on the agenda. And that is the consideration of adoption of the resolution for remote teleconference meetings.
Yeah, Chair, that nothing new under the sun here. This is just a continuation of something we've done 6 prior times. Hopefully we are coming out from underneath the cloud. And so it's the option of your board to consider signing this resolution to give us the option to have a remote meeting for the following 30-day period.
Thank you.
I'd motion.
Supervisor, oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Supervisor Long, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, I just motion to approve.
Great.
It gives us the flexibility we need. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. So we have this is for the Oxnard Authority. We have a motion and a second. Can we take a roll call vote, please?
We need the second, please.
Oh, sorry. That was Supervisor Ramirez.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Supervisor Long,
Yes.
Supervisor Ramirez,
Yes.
Councilmember Perrello,
Yes.
Chair Lopez,
Yes.
Eugene Fussell.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And Chair Santangelo, do you want to take it on the Camarillo side?
Sure, we have the same thing. Do we have a motion from Camarillo?
Oh, yeah.
I move that we approve the resolution.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Bear and a second from Mr. Molche. Can we have a roll call vote?
Absolutely. Supervisor Long,
Yes.
Supervisor Ramirez,
Yes.
Mayor Molche,
Yes.
Chair Santangelo,
Yes.
Scott Bear.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. And yes, things are looking good. So I do hope to see everyone in person sometime in the future. So with that, next item, Director's Report. Mr. Nafee, if there's anything.
Just a few things. I have on my list noise program, which it sounds like we've covered all of that stuff very well. I didn't have anything additional to add on there. I wanted to say that Cloud 9 reached a milestone yesterday, and wanted to acknowledge the City of Camarillo staff and the elected members that we have here, as well as the entire council for helping RKR get that milestone. They now have secured the final permits they need to continue and get all the permits from the county to build their hangars. And we're excited about it. It's a long-term lease. It's going to transform this airport and renew it and bring lots of new excitement in here. And this is great news for them, as well as for us. So we're very grateful and appreciative and recognize that milestone. AVEX is one of our fixed-based operators here. They have a self-serve fueling island, and they've been down for maintenance. Past reports have indicated that they're waiting on parts, and that is still the case. They're hopeful to get parts in March, the remainder of March, and have the thing up and running in April. They are honoring their self-serve fuel price for their customers, regardless of where they take their fuel. So they'll drive the truck over and give them fuel and charge them the self-serve price. We've received letters of interest for new development at Oxnard Airport, so we're excited about that. Multiple entities have expressed interest in the 5-acre lot next to Aspen helicopters, and so there's that. But we're also seeing interest in the older hangars, 2 and 3, down on the other end, closer to the main apron, so at Oxnard Airport. So seeing some activity over there. We're pretty excited about that. Oxnard Airport Taxiway Connector Project, that's a continuation of the runway which we completed last summer into the fall. And FAA funds weren't available to move on to doing the taxiway system. Hopes had been at the beginning that we were going to get money for all of it all at the same time, one closure, finish it. We had to break that up just from funding realities. And so FAA is stepping up for additional funding, $3.25 million for the base bid. We expect to open bids on April 5th and then have a construction schedule in the summer, but it doesn't include any closures. And most of that work is night. There might be the occasional day or a few hours of a closure, but nothing like we had this last summer. It's that time to anticipate budget presentations. I don't have anything really to share there other than the fact that we're looming, that we're staring down the deadlines, and we normally present budgets to you. And the fiscal year starts July 1st. So, and we are in the final stages of getting the funding set up for our security cameras and access gate upgrades, modernization. So it's really going to happen. It's really a reality. We've got the money lined up and a contractor is established. So we're moving that forward. And then I would just say that just today, I had the pleasure and the honor of representing the Department of Airports as the runway 725 construction project at Oxnard received Project of the Year in the transportation category from the American Public Works Association Ventura County chapter. And so we had a very nice luncheon. We got to say some remarks and introduce our engineers, design engineers there, Brian Buter and Mike Quinn. Were there, and I accepted the award. So it was really, really nice. And we're thrilled to get a little bit extra time in the spotlight and to have that great project gather in some more good attention, because it was well deserved. So, and that is it for me.
Thank you, and such a positive end to the report. Congratulations to the entire team and staff. Thank you for all your hard work. Mr. Sanada, you have a comment?
Just curious, will there be a budget workshop this year?
I will take that note and provide a workshop. No, I don't know that there's one scheduled for that under that title, but I will huddle up with the director and if that seems like an appropriate thing to schedule, we will. But neither of us has been through that tradition. I think Jamal Ghazali, who's our fiscal manager, has, and so let's circle back on that item, and I'll provide an update in the next report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay.
No public comments.
And no public comments, correct? Okay. All right. Next item is the monthly reports. If there's any questions, comments, or anything that needs to be highlighted, Mr. Nafee?
Nothing extraordinary. These are the customary reports, and one of them we'll be working on with the subcommittee.
All right, and there's no public comment on this item as well, so we'll move on to correspondence. And no questions or comments on this either?
None.
Okay.
Nope.
All right, we're just moving through this.
Yeah.
All right, authority comments. Are there any comments from authority members? Dr. Fussell, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'll reserve my comments on the airport lease situation until after it is done. It's been through 3 airport directors. It's been a long, long, hard haul, and I'm not going to congratulate anybody until we sign the damn thing. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Dr. Fussell. Mayor Molshay.
Dave mentioned it in his report, but I just want to say thank you for addressing the cameras, both Camarillo and Oxnard. So I've been rather vocal on that for the last, I'll say a few years. And I think it's really important for the security and safety of our airports that we have working cameras. So thank you for getting that done.
You got it.
Thank you, Mayor Molshay. Any other questions or comments from authority members? Okay, everyone's so quiet today. Councilmember Perrella, go ahead.
You're running a good meeting. It's a good meeting tonight. Thank you. Thanks to all involved.
Well, it's all positive issues, so thank you. And we don't have any public comments. Okay.
Put your hands up.
All right. Well, with that, if there's no last minute questions, comments, anything to raise at this time, we will go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Our next meeting is March 14th at 6:30. Location to be determined. Thank you, Mr. Napi, and thank you to the authority. Oh, Mr. Bear, saw your hand.
We're in March. I presume that means our next meeting's on April 14th.
Thank you. Yes, you are absolutely correct.
Yeah, not Monday.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll have a good night. We'll go ahead and adjourn at this time.
Good night, Chair. Good night, everyone.
Thanks.
Good night.